Our sexual energy is not just to do with the act of sex. I think this is really something that a lot of people aren't even aware of. And to be honest, I wasn't at all when I started on my journey. I could feel like I had gave my power away a lot in past sexual relationships, but I couldn't really make the link that it was so integral to stepping into my power, you know? And the reason why this is because our sexual energy is our creative energy. They're the same energy. Our sexual energy literally creates life, as you know, and we are the carriers of life as women. So our sexual energy is our creative energy, and it is also our spiritual energy. Abraham Hicks talks about this. She said spiritual energy and sexual energy are the same thing. Pablo Picasso says spiritual energy or sexual energy and art are the same thing, sex and art. So I see that as sex and creativity. So the reason why is because this is all part of our feminine energy. So our sexuality is essentially our feminine energy. Our creativity is our feminine energy. And our creativity and our sexuality is governed by the same chakra, the lower chakra, the sacral chakra. So this governs our sensuality also, because our sensuality is related to our sexual energy, and our emotions. So this is responsible for how we feel. So think of how important that is. If you're not lighting up your sexual energy, you're literally not feeling as alive. So your sexual energy and your erotic energy is an energy that it fuses your whole body with aliveness. Aliveness, think about it, creating life. Creative energy is about creating. It's about bringing something forth from nowhere, like something that wasn't there. So it's all about life. So your sexual energy is about feeling alive. It is so, so integral to us stepping into our power. And the reason why it's been suppressed is because what happens when women are awake and alive in their sexual energy? You know? What happens is that society has to change. Society cannot function the way it functions right now if women were to awaken to their sexual energy and to reclaim it for themselves. And this is why they suppressed feminine sexual energy, because they're trying to control that aspect. You know, maybe not on purpose, because they don't know the benefits that they actually would get from women being empowered in their sexuality. They didn't know this. They just tried to own it. As we know, our sexuality for thousands of years has essentially been owned by the masculine. And we're only now starting to break out of it. You know, so women have literally, myself included, especially of my generation, I don't know about other generations, but I grew up thinking that my sexuality was for men. And that sexuality was solely about this connection with the other person. And it is so, so much more than that. And that's a lot of what Rebel Goddesses is about. It's about reclaiming that sexual energy and bringing it into your life as just another part of you, so that you become whole, so that you don't have your sexuality and your sexual energy stuffed away in this compartmentalized little box with this big shadow on it, you know, where it's only opened in terms of relating to a partner. If you're heterosexual with the masculine, but obviously it doesn't have to be just with a partner. But, you know, in heterosexual terms, it's where it's been mostly suppressed, because the masculine doesn't understand female sexuality. Because our sexuality is so different from the masculine. And our sexuality is very much an internal thing. And it is first and foremost for us. And when we bring that energy up within ourselves, we can choose to share it. you know, but it is first and foremost for us, and it will always be a personal experience, your sexuality. And that again is what I was saying, that it is so important and such an integral part to your feminine power, is reclaiming that. Esther Perel, famous sexologist, I guess you could call her pretty much, she says that female sexuality is narcissistic. And this makes perfect sense to me, because a female gets turned on essentially by being the turn on. You know, that's why it's so important that you learn to fall in love with yourself, essentially, to become your own muse, to tap into your own sensuality, and to just love yourself and be lit up by yourself. Nothing got to do with the other person, because female sexuality is narcissistic like that. So you get turned on by being the turn on. So you have to be able to love yourself first, and to be, you know, turned on essentially by yourself. And this is how you are just turned on by life. Erotic energy and sexual energy is just aliveness. Think of it like that. It's aliveness. And that's what we all want. We want to feel alive and invigorated going through life. That's what Tantra teachings are about. It's all about bringing your sexual energy up so that you feel alive. So the next thing is that once you do start to cultivate that sexual energy within yourself, it's super important to just not give it away, not give your power away. And this goes for, you know, if you're in a relationship, if you're single, it doesn't matter. It's about holding your power for you, what feels right for you, because it's all about you. So how I teach this in terms of sexual energy is so molded into a creative energy. You know, people will teach us in lots of different ways you can connect to your body and cultivate your sexual energy within yourself. I teach it through your sensuality, reconnecting to your sensuality, through movement essentially, and getting in touch with your body. My favorite way is sensual yoga and pole dance. And then expressing it through creative expression. And so like I explained at the start, our creative expression, our creativity is literally our sexual energy. They're literally the same energies. Sexual energy is creative energy. So when you tap into your creative expression, you are essentially tapping into your sexual energy. Sometimes it can be more sexual, other times it can not. Maybe it's really soulful. It's a really soulful creative expression. There still can be sexual energy running underneath that. It's all intertwined. You know, sometimes I'm doing sensual yoga or a sensual pole thing, and it's just really soulful, but I'm still feeling sensual. You know, and your sensual experience, your sensuality is more like, best way I would explain it is you're feeling your sexual energy on an internal experience, as opposed to when you're feeling sexy and seductive, it's more an outward experience. You know, you're more expressing it out into the world. And there's nothing wrong with either, but I think that the sensuality, the inner experience, has to be there first. And then if you want to be seductive outwardly, it comes from an embodied place. So this is all intertwined, but it all comes back to reconnecting to our sexual energy. And we really have to do that for ourselves. And that's why, you know, we're coming together in this group so that we can feel safe to do it, because it's still so suppressed out there. And it is not, women are not going to be able to take back their sexual energy without claiming it for themselves and without waking up to this fact that it is ours and that it invigorates us and helps us through life and helps us in our power and helps us to feel alive and happy and joyful. So I want that for all of us, for all women.